this meeting by asking Vice President Wayne Walker to make a general announcement for our guests.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming out. A little wet out, but dry on the inside. You know, at every Board of Education meeting, a representative from the Deaf Hearing Communication Center is here to provide sign language interpretation of our proceedings, and we always express our gratitude. Representatives from the Office of Family and Community Engagement are stationed in the lobby to help with interpretation services. The proceedings of this meeting are being streamed live on the internet at www.philasd.org/live and can be seen on PSTV's Comcast Channel 52 and Verizon Fios Channel 20. The proceedings are also being recorded by the School District of Philadelphia. The school district's recordings are protected by the copyright laws of the United States and may not be used in any manner without the express written consent of the school district. By participating in this morning's meeting, members of the public acknowledge that the school district may use its recordings for any purpose without obtaining permission or paying any compensation. Thank you very much for your attention. Madam President.
Thank you, Vice President Walker. We're here today to hold a special meeting of the Board of Education to take action on 3 pending charter school matters. The timing of this meeting is dictated by the Pennsylvania Charter School Law. We received a multiple charter school organization application, an MCSO, from Freire Charter School. We're mandated by law to take action on this application within 45 days of receipt of the application. This special meeting is primarily for that purpose. We also received a resubmission for the new charter school application for Joan Myers Brown Charter School, and it's also mandated under charter school law that we take action on this application today. We'll hear more about these items and the third item on our agenda shortly. Before we begin, I want to ask that everyone following today's meeting reach out to their state representatives and to the governor's office to oppose legislation making its way through Harrisburg. Yesterday, the Pennsylvania House of Representatives passed House Bill 357. We've spoken before about the sorry state of Pennsylvania charter school law. HB 357 will make it worse. This legislation continues to erode local control over charter schools by putting the state in charge of creating and maintaining the application forms used for new charter schools and charter school renewals, and takes away the ability of local districts to modify their applications with terms necessary for schools to be successful in their district local context. Additionally, the legislation creates a new type of charter school, a charter school without an enrollment cap, and if this legislation is enacted, these charter schools, regardless of their quality, would have the ability to grow at will with no oversight. To give you an idea of what this would mean to taxpayers in Philadelphia, if charter school enrollment was to increase annually by just 5%, it would cost Philadelphia taxpayers an additional $219 million by FY22. If enrollment increased by just 10%, it would cost taxpayers an additional $500 million in the same time frame. HB 57 would continue to drag Pennsylvania charter school law backwards. I urge you to reach out to the governor's office and your state reps to tell them to oppose this legislation. Thank you. The minutes of the May 30th action meeting will be voted on at our regular meeting on June 27th. We'll begin our regular business with a roll call. Ms. Rout, please call the roll and make the announcement about any executive sessions.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to announce that the board met in executive session on June 6th to discuss quasi-judicial charter matters. And I'll now call the roll. Ms. Danzy?
Present.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
Present.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
Present.
Mr. Huang?
I am present.
Thank you. Dr. McColgan?
Present.
Dr. McGinley?
Present.
Dr. McIver?
Present.
Vice President Walker?
Present.
President Wilkerson?
Present.
Superintendent Height?
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rauch. We'll now hear from Christina Grant, Interim Chief of the Charter School Office, to explain the 3 action items before us today. Ms. Grant?
Good morning, Christina Grant, Interim Chief of Charters. We are before you this morning at a special meeting of the Board of Education because of the timing required by the Pennsylvania Charter School Law. The first proposed action item for consideration of the revised new charter application for Joan Myers Brown Academy, a string theory charter school. In accordance with statute, the Board of Education must take action to approve or reject the revised application at the first board meeting occurring at least 45 days after receipt. We received the application on April 16, 2019, and therefore the board must act today. The Charter Schools Office also has conducted a thorough evaluation of this revised new application, and the report is posted on our website and is linked from the board's agenda for today's meeting. The second proposed action item concerns the application to form a multiple charter school organization from Freire Charter Schools, PA, MCSO. In accordance with statute, the Board of Education must take action to approve or reject the proposed consolidation within 45 days of receipt of the application. We received the application on May 1st, 2019. The Charter School Office has conducted a thorough evaluation of this MCSO application, and the report is posted on our website and is linked from the board's agenda for today's meeting. The third and final item for your consideration this morning is a proposed agreement with the Architecture and Design Charter High School, also known as CHAD. The School Reform Commission had issued a notice of non-renewal to begin non-renewal proceedings concerning CHAD. Rather than proceeding with the non-renewal hearings, CHAD has agreed to close effective June 30th, 2020, provided that the non-renewal hearings are canceled. The details of the agreement are set forth in the board's agenda for today's meeting.
Are there any questions from board members? Seeing none, next on our agenda is hearing from our student speakers, elected officials who are here this morning, and those who've registered to speak on action items we're considering today. We'll hear from the speakers on general topics later on our agenda after we've voted on today's business. Now, I don't believe we have any elected officials with us today. We will next take our student speakers. Ms. Rauch, would you please announce our speakers' policy and then call up our speakers?
Thank you, Madam President. The Board of Education appreciates the public's input on issues, including those that are being considered by the board today. To respect every speaker's time, we will strictly enforce the 3-minute per speaker time limit. There's an electronic time prompt on the speaker table. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds left, and when it turns red, your time is completed. Those people speaking on general topics will address the board after we've completed formal business this morning. Up to 4 speakers will address the board on each topic. Written testimony submitted before the start of this meeting will be included as part of the record of today's meeting. I will call 5 speakers at a time. Please come to the front of the room and be seated in the front row. Actually, I'm calling 4 because they're on topics. Hold on for 1 second, actually.
No, we do students
Okay.
first.
Okay, apologies. So I'm calling student speakers on general topics who the board will hear before taking its business, and then other speakers on general topics will go after the vote. Kendall Stewart, please come to the speakers table. Anthony Burke, Linda Rubin, and Rich Migliore. Actually, not all students.
Rich, we'll take you later. Are you speaking on a general matter?
No, I'm speaking
Okay.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Is Kendall Stewart here? Anthony Burke? Okay, then Linda Rubin, please come to the table. And again, for clarification, Linda Rubin and Rich Miglior will be speaking on topics of business today. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Linda Rubin, and I spoke about the MCSOs at the September 2018 Student Achievement Committee meeting. I still have the same concerns about the concept, and specifically for its use by Free Air Charter. Free Air Charter currently has a middle school and a high school. Tech Free Air Charter is currently under consideration for non-renewal and has not met standards in academic success, has a chronic attendance problem, higher than similar and district schools, and a higher level of suspensions than similar and district schools. Interestingly, it was noted that Tech Free Air was without a PA state certified principal in both 2017 and 2018 ACE reports. The MCSO, or Multiple Charter School Organization concept, is simply a further attempt to evade oversight and accountability by the board. I'm concerned that MCSOs will allow their schools to be viewed as a unit instead of as individual schools. Since students can transfer to schools within the MCSO network, I believe that it will be made more difficult for the board to follow particular students, and that such practice could be used to hide failing students and equity issues amongst their schools. For a school that is under scrutiny for non-renewal, I question whether this move may be to provide a shield for any of Tech Free Air's problems. I also wonder how MCSO status would affect the board's ability to oversee equity percentages, especially regarding special education and ELL rights of students, and to monitor admission practices regarding race, demographics, and equity in learning issues. Once these students are in an MCSO, could we lose sight of whether they're even in school? As we know, it's been easier to open charter schools than to regulate or even close failing ones. Charter operators loudly dispute the school board's oversight responsibility or to set conditions to help put a school back on track. They use branding and public relations techniques to convince the public how excellent they are. We are just learning about MCSOs. The public knows less than we do, especially about who would protect their child's right to an education. And of course, what would happen to these students should the charter operators decide they no longer want to stay in the education business, as has happened around the country. That is why public schools are part of and administered for the public good, not for private profit. Frankly, as I've said before, I believe that the MCO process is the first step toward taking control of as many students and grade levels as possible, with the intention of eventually petitioning the state to deal with the MCOs directly for state funding and oversight, essentially seceding from the School District of Philadelphia. I urge you to vote no to creating an MCSO for Free Air Charter. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Landau, could you, oh, never mind. That's okay. You can start.
Okay. I am Rich McGlory, as you know, and I am happy to advocate before you today for democracy in education. I address the board today in opposition to the application of Freire Charter School's application to become a multiple charter school organization. I am now formally raising the constitutional issues that the multiple charter school organization statute violates the public education clause of our state constitution cited therein. Section 1729.1A of the Charter School Law is repugnant to the meaning and intent of the Public Education Clause. It is constitutionally infirm on its face, and as it will be applied if you approve the application of free air charter schools. The intent and purpose of that statute in this application is to circumvent our locally elected school boards and this duly appointed school board by our mayor, who is an elected public official. The intent is to circumvent the very processes of democracy which are embodied by our school districts and required by the Public Education Clause of our state constitution. The MCSO legislation, in effect, will create two separate school districts, school systems, one publicly governed and one privately owned and operated. That dual system was not contemplated by the Public Education Clause when it was enacted by our legislature. The ultimate effect is to undermine public education and destroy it. That is the intent of the political sects who proffered that legislation. Moreover, it violates the constitutional guarantees of the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment of our United States Constitution in that it denies our citizens their liberty rights to participate meaningfully in the governance of what are supposed to be our public schools. It is a denial of our right to participatory due process in a democratic society. As such, it is a denial of due process. Moreover, Freire Charter School's application and summary reveals its purpose and intent to create a web of private organizations to divest our children's money and our public tax dollars into very private pockets. That is not the best interest of any school child, any parent, or our school community. May I ask for leave to just finish these last four paragraphs?
Keep
We're
going.
not.
Keep going.
Okay. Freire misrepresents in its summary that it is a local educational agency and that the MCSO law will be a local MCSO will be a local educational agency. That is a false statement and a misrepresentation of law. Charter schools and their management organizations are not LEAs in any legal shape or form. School districts are LEAs. This board is an LEA. Charter schools are private business corporations whose founders hold a license to operate a school. The relationship of school districts to charter schools is regulatory. This law and this scenario will make it impossible for this board to hold those schools accountable to you or the public. Finally, Freire has not met any standards for student performance or fiscal management, so it is not eligible to consolidate its schools under Section 3B of the Multiple Charter School Organization Law.
Thank you.
For all of those reasons, I ask the board members to vote to deny the application of Freire to become a multiple charter school organization.
Thank you. Please call our next speaker. Are there any? Okay, thank you. It's now time to discuss and vote on today's action items. Action item 1 is the revised application for a new charter school for Joan Myers Brown Academy Charter School. Board members, may I have a motion and a second to consider action item 1? You want to state specifically?
I'm sorry. I move to deny the revised that's what you want me to read? To move to revise application for new charter school of Joan Myers Brown Academy Charter School and adopt an adjudication in support of the denial.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions? Ms. Rapp, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam President. Board members, a motion has been made and seconded to deny the revised application for a new charter school of Joan Myers Brown Academy Charter School and to adopt an adjudication in support of the denial. When I call your name, please vote yes if you are voting to deny the revised application for a new charter school of Joan Myers Brown Academy Charter School and to adopt an adjudication in support of the denial, or vote no. Ms. Danzy?
Yes, although I'm very much in favor of a school that integrates the arts, unfortunately, this application does not adequately meet that.
Ms. Zahaya Hinton,
Yes.
Ms. Fix Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Huang,
Yes to deny.
Dr. McColgan,
Yes.
Dr. McGinley,
Yes to deny, and I share Ms. Danzy's views on the application and the long-term goal of having such a school.
thank you. Dr. McIver,
Yes to deny.
Vice President Walker,
Yes.
President Wilkerson, sorry.
That's a career shortener on your part.
Thanks so much. It's already been a very long day. President
Yes.
Wilkerson,
Yes,
thank you.
thank you.
The application has been denied. Thank you.
Our next item is action item 2, the application for Freire Charter Schools PA MCSO. May I have a motion and a second to consider action item 2?
I move.
I move to deny the application for the Freire Charter Schools PA MCSO and to adopt an adjudication in support of the denial.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments on this item? Mr. McGinley, I'm sorry, Dr. McGinley.
Dr. McGinley, that's going to shorten your tenure. I just want to comment on a couple of things. First, I have great concerns with this approach to separating out groups of schools from the authority of the appointed school board, and share some of the concerns of the speakers that were here today. But I also want to assert that the creation of an MCSO, if one were ever to occur, doesn't take away the individual charter from the school. This application seems uninformed about that, but and so the charter schools that are authorized by the district, by the school board, or previously by the SRC, have an application process as part of the charter, and so that remains intact. My understanding of the legislation, having spoken to people from PDE, is that the individual integrity of that school as a unit remains in place, and that if there was a creation of a MCSO at some point, it would not afford open transfer between schools within that organization. And I think that that's a position we just need to make sure that we continually assert and monitor as we might receive other applications in the future.
I share your concerns. I think this is still something very new in Pennsylvania, and we need to remain vigilant about how it's implemented if it were to pass. But are there any other questions?
No, and in fairness to anyone who does apply for an MCSO, the guidance within the law is so minimal that it's easy to make mistakes and it's easy to misinterpret things.
Yeah. So I think that just reinforces the need for us to be aggressively vigilant about this, and we will be. If there are no other questions or comments, Ms. Rauch, and we've had a motion and a second, Ms. Rauch, please call.
Thank you, President
For the vote.
Wilkerson. Thank you. Board members, a motion has been made and it has been seconded to deny the application for the Freire Charter Schools PA MCSO and to adopt an adjudication in support of the denial. When I call your name, please vote yes if you are voting to deny the application for the Freire Charter Schools PA MCSO and to adopt an adjudication in support of the denial, or vote no. Ms. Danzy?
Yes, I concur with Dr. McGinley's comments. I think this application really was designed to subvert some of the oversight that they should have.
Ms. Zahaya Hinton?
Yes, and I also agree that we need to be a bit more vigilant in terms of how this is going to be evolved. And so it's yes to deny.
Sorry. Ms. Fix Lopez?
Yes to deny.
Mr. Huang?
Yes to deny, and I just wanted to add that my vote is based on the application and has nothing to do with my opinions about MCSOs.
Thank you. Dr. McColgan?
Agreeing with all the prior comments, yes.
Thank you. Dr. McGinley?
Yes to deny.
Dr. McIver?
Yes to deny.
Vice President Walker?
Yes to deny, but I too am concerned about a tale of multiple districts, and we must bring great focus on the consequences.
Thank you. President Wilkerson?
Yes to deny.
Thank you. The application for the MCSO for Friary Charter Schools PA has been denied by a vote of 9-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next and final item is action item 3. This is the consideration of an agreement to close the charter, Chad Charter School and cancel the non-renewal hearing for Chad. May I have a motion and a second to consider action item 3?
So moved.
Is there a second? Board members, before taking your comments on this item, I'd like to provide some context for this item. On June 21st, 2018, the School Reform Commission approved notice of non-renewal for the charter school for architecture and design, which started the non-renewal process for Chad's charter. Public hearings on the non-renewal for Chad's charter were scheduled to begin in June 2019. On May 28, 2019, the Chad Board of Trustees signed and offered a settlement agreement to the school district, which would allow it to avoid the disruption and uncertainty of a lengthy legal process and create the possibility for the spirit/mission of Chad to live on as a school or program operated by the School District of Philadelphia. If we approve this item today, the public hearing on the non-renewal of Chad will be canceled, and Chad will continue to operate as a charter school for the 2019-20 school year and will surrender its charter effective at the end of the 1920 school year. In the meantime, Chad and the district will work together to explore the establishment of an architecture and design school or program managed by the school district. The specific details of such architecture and design school or program would be documented in an MOU executed by both Chad and the district on or before September 30, 2019. And even if Chad and the district are unable to reach the agreement on the terms of the MOU related to the establishment of an architecture and design program, Chad will close the charter school and surrender its charter at the end of the 2019-20 school year. Board members, I believe that this is absolutely the best outcome for all involved in this difficult situation. I urge you to vote yes on this item. Are there any other questions or discussion?
I'd just like to make a comment. I'm very much in favor of it. I think there's a need for this type of school, but I do have serious concerns that if it's not the right leader in the school, it could be a failure. And so it's just, just a comment that I think it's important. It's very difficult work to do. There are people that absolutely can do it, but they have to not just be, a highly qualified educator, but a bigger visionary and leader for this type of work.
Dr. Haidt, you want to offer a comment?
Yeah, and I agree with Board Member Fix-Lopez. And while we do not have a design thinking program in the school district, and the fact that Chad has developed a design thinking school, there's an opportunity for us to work with them to have such a program that becomes a part of our course offering. So we're excited about the opportunity. I very much agree that this is not it would not be someone who is just solely certified in or licensed to be an administrator, but one who thinks about that work in a design thinking way. And that's going to take a unique set of skills, and it gives us some time to work together with them in order to establish that type of approach.
Are there any other comments?
Just a quick comment.
Could I ask one quick
Oh,
question?
go ahead.
Sure.
Go ahead, from heaven.
Dr. McCulkin.
I know all these doctor mix. My quick question is, I agree with the settlement, and I think anything that keeps us out of the courts and wasting that money is great, but will Chad be taking on ninth graders or new students next year?
No. Ms. Grant, you want to come up and...
Again, Christina Grant, Interim Chief of Charters. No, they will not be taking in a freshman class, and we'll be working with them as we have with other schools that have transitioned to close at the end of the school year to make sure that all students currently enrolled have access to all of the district processes, which include how would they enroll themselves in an existing charter high school or how would they participate in high school selection through district offerings.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry.
for this, was the question for this fall?
For this fall, yeah.
For this fall, yes. So I
Yeah.
think the answer is we don't know. I think they have already signed up and had individuals who selected their schools. And so I don't think we know whether or not they will be taking them. For the following year, we know that there's no plan to take ninth graders.
But for this coming school year, there will be a ninth grade class. Okay, thank you. Does that answer your question? Dr. McCulkin?
Yes, but I thought they operate for the 1920, they surrender their charter, so why would there be another year after this year? I'm confused.
There wouldn't be.
The surrender is effective the following school year, 2020. Ms. Wyatt?
Good morning. Naomi Wyatt, Chief of Staff to the Superintendent. Just to clarify, so for this coming fall, September 2019, they already have enrolled ninth graders. They will have a ninth grade class. September 2020, we do not yet know whether there will be a continuing school or program, where that will be. That's part of what will be worked out in the MOU. So depending on what gets worked out, there may be a class, there may not be a class, it may be part of another program or school. So that's a TBD at this particular moment.
I'm sorry, I'm really confused. I thought that there was the surrender for the charter of June 2020.
Correct.
So then I'm confused about what we're talking about with September 2020.
So as part of the surrender agreement, we have agreed to meet with and talk with Chad about what kind of program will continue in a non-charter format going forward. So will there be an independent high school in the district that does design thinking? Will there be a design thinking program that gets incorporated within another existing high school? Those are the things to be determined. So what happens in the fall of September 2020 is a TBD. There will not be a charter CHAD program after June 30th,
So
2020.
this will be their last year next year.
This will be their last year as a charter school.
Right.
What exists after as a school or program that does the same kind of design thinking is to be determined.
Chad, charter school will not be enrolling a ninth grade. That's the important part in 2020.
Right.
So,
But they will for the school year
but if
coming
in
up.
fact we are able to work on or work out an agreement where we continue to operate the school as a district-run school, then we will determine at that time if we are ready to accept ninth graders into that program in 2020 or not.
Right. So I'm understanding it differently now than I had before, and my concern is just that it's the same school with a different name. And I just want to, and I know Dr. McGinley.
I'm
sorry.
If you could clarify what your concern is.
I just am concerned of, I envisioned it a little bit different, that there would be, I mean, to do something like this takes a lot of planning, and it just seems like a lot of work organizationally within 1 year. And my concern is that if we're not giving ourselves the time to do it right, it will not be successful. And so I'm just concerned, a lot of it with timeline, and then instead of there being a clear break and a new school, of just kind of a transition into a school with a new label. That's my concern.
May I add that I think my concern is similar, but it's with the students who are currently in the school, and as we're trying to make these decisions, what decisions are we making for those students? I don't want them next June to, it's not clear. We don't know where they're going to go, what's going to happen with them. So that's a concern.
And that it goes to my question. So will those that have already been enrolled and, previous to this agreement, will they be made aware that the school will not exist in this format?
Yes,
the following year, so that they can make appropriate decisions for their children?
This has been discussed and approved by the board of the charter school, and the charter school has shared it with its school community. So, if we make a decision today, it'll not be a first impression for the charter school community. This is something that has been shared with the charter school community previously.
Correct.
Dr. McGinley?
So I feel like the issue of the future of the students is well addressed in this agreement. And so I'm certainly concerned about their future, but I believe the right mechanisms are in place to ensure that students are well informed about the future of the program. I also want to just point out or kind of reinforce that item 3, our commitment as a district is to work with CHAD to explore the establishment. So there's not an absolute guarantee. And it also talks about a school or a program. You know, my preference would be, in a room alone making decisions, is that it's a program in one of our schools, because some of our schools need greater opportunities to focus on a rigorous academic program. But that commitment to explore the establishment of is not an automatic creation of a CHAD-like public school, and nor is it a guarantee that that's in place for the 2021 school year. That's nowhere in this agreement.
Are there any
Just
other
one more
comments? Ms. Mejia?
Yeah, Ms. Ahea Hinton. My only comment is kind of in line with Mallory's original comment. My daughter attended that school many moons ago, and I thought it was a nice school. But one of the comments that I have is that if my hope is that a model will develop that would be design-minded, because there was a disconnect somewhere between the academic portion of, what the mandatory requirements were with the design program. But, I mean, my hope is that we get there, that, that it is a viable program for young people who are interested in that area.
And I think we can look forward to having updates in the coming year as this evolves. Are there any other comments or questions? Ms. Rao, please.
Sorry, this is Li Huang. I was hoping to get some sense of the public reporting of this workout process so that we as a board and the public can follow along. If someone could speak to that.
I anticipate this would be presented at the student achievement meetings. It can incorporate this item in its agenda going forward, and we expect that it would be working with the district to do that so that we and the public can follow the development of the program.
And I would just add that in the agreement, as stated by Dr. McGinley, many of those timelines are clearly defined in terms of when we will have decisions made to move forward.
Does that satisfy your concern?
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Rout, please call the vote on this.
Thank you, President Wilkerson. On action item 3, Ms. Danzy?
Yes.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
Yes.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Huang?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the motion?
The motion is a straight vote on action item 3.
Okay, I'm a yes.
Dr. McColgan?
Yes.
Dr. McGinley?
Yes, with thanks and appreciation for the work that went into this agreement.
Dr. McIver?
Yes.
Vice President Walker?
Yes.
President Wilkerson?
Yes, and I also
you.
want to thank the CHAD community. When it became apparent that the charter school framework was not a framework that was really working, they came to the table in a very engaged way, focused on what was important about the school and the programming that was offered, and it's been a very constructive conversation, and I would hope that it could possibly be a model for other situations in front of the board where the charter school framework is not an effective framework, but they're good concepts, ideas, programs that are a part of the school, and we look forward to the opportunity to incorporate them in a more viable framework. So this has been a good experience, I think, for all involved, and we appreciate the time and the commitment. With that, are there any other questions on items before us? Seeing none, Ms. Rauch, would you please call for the rest of the speakers?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. The same rules will apply for speakers on each, up to 4 speakers on each topic, and we ask that you come to the front of the room and please respect the time of other speakers in connection with the time prompt for your 3 minutes. Joyce Abbott, you may come to the table. Deborah Azor, Mama Gail, Leah Clouden, and Horace Clouden.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Joyce Abbott. I've been with the district for over 20 years. Prior to that time, I served 10 years in the military with the 10-month tour in the Persian Gulf War. I came into teaching under the highly regarded Troops to Teachers program. I was in one of the first cohorts of that program. This morning, I stand before you to share, first of all, thank you to all of you for allowing me to be here to share my thoughts with you, the positive things that are happening at the Andrew Hamilton Elementary School located in West Philadelphia. I spent most of my teaching career there. I started there in 1997. When I first started there, the 6 through 8 program was a definitely highly regarded academic program. We did major competitions academically with schools such as Masterman and other schools, but as the years progressed, that program slowly started to dissolve. We're trying to get that back now, but the program slowly, started to dissolve. 2 years ago, we did get new leadership, Principal Atama Smith, and during that time when she entered our school, she came with a vision that I highly respected and a vision that I too shared in my years with the school district, that every child, regardless of their zip code, socioeconomic status, deserves a quality education. At the onset of her arrival, we started to transform the environment so the children could have a comfortable, welcoming place to learn. We came in on Saturdays, we painted. In addition to that, several partnerships were formed, several school initiatives. We won several championships after our first year being from chess, PYB basketball. We had a girls team win first place in a technological fair for 2 years in a row. The first year we won most strides in school climate. This year we won first place for bullying and the successful use of Class Dojo. As far as academically, which I was extremely impressed with, we moved up 33 points from 11 in the intervened tier to 44 in the watch category, 6 points away from reinventing, which is the green tier. So this was a 300% increase. All to say that great things are happening at Hamilton. We are in hopes of bringing back our academic program for all students, so every student can have a quality education within that community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deborah Azor, please. Sorry. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm not Deborah Azor. She's not here today. My name is Brenda Callum. I am really known as Grandma B. I was a Hamilton volunteer for the foster grandparenting program since 2013. I was there when Ms. Smith started her very first year. And as I can speak, there have been major changes in Hamilton School, where, the fights were every day. They had food fights. Food was all over the place. The school was dirty. And the children were totally out of control with no structure whatsoever. That year that I was there, a lot of that has changed dramatically. And Ms. Smith's vision mainly is, what can we do for the children? How can we help them? What can we change? And that has always been my vision with her. And she even went as far as getting Kobe Bryant to come to the school because the children won the basketball championship this year. We didn't have anything for the children to do structure except for just go out in the schoolyard and just fight every day. So a lot of that has changed since Ms. Smith has entered there. My thing is that I'm just very sorry that she also got me hired through the school district part-time for the climate. my thing is this, I'm just disappointed because I'm not there, and I'm at Blankenburg, but I do thank God for the job. And I just wanted to commend her on the work that she has done, the things that she's done for the children, as far as children that could not even afford clothing. She went out and brought the uniforms for the students. And besides that, I mean, she just really is a great asset to Hamilton at this moment as far as changing the school around, remodeling the school inside and out. And the school is extremely clean now. And that is a great thing and a good place to work in and a good environment to be in. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Mama Gail. Okay. Horace Clouden. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Horace Clouden, and I'd just like to say to the district, here we go again. Back in 2013, the Clouden family gave a proposal before they closed 21 schools, and they closed 21 schools. Our proposal was always to keep the junior high schools. Now, as a result of those changes, 6 or 7 years later, we need these junior high schools back. They're getting ready to have this comprehensive school planning review coming up, and we will definitely be there. What I'd like to say is it's nice you want to be holding the charter schools accountable, but who's going to hold these district schools accountable? I'm going to give you a report, somewhat a detailed report of the report you received from the district about the ills of the West and Southwest District. You'll be getting it in your later committees today. Accountability. Can you hold someone accountable? Here again, administrative services, $103 million is paid out to administrative services. You have had testimonies sometimes 2 months in a row, only because somebody didn't do it the first time you heard the testimony. The thing is this, when it comes up to that review about better use of facilities, and these schools are right now half full, before they were closed because of attendance. That's why they closed the schools, attendance. Now, they'll probably close the schools because of attendance and low performance. But I'd like you to consider before closing any school to bus some of these children out of these overcrowded schools in the Northeast. Let's start doing this reverse busing. Let's bring them back to West and Southwest Philly. Now, transparency. I hope the district puts back into transparency school capacity. I can't find school capacity anywhere. So I can't prove my case of a school being overcrowded. So please ask the district to put that back into transparency. The second thing is this. Teachers only have to work 180 days. In our report, we're going to show that the teachers haven't been coming to work. You know, please have someone in your education effectiveness department, which gets paid over $1 million, to come and explain that to us, why we don't have why we have so much, I guess, absenteeism in schools. You know, these children have to work twice as hard, and they have to even work twice as harder because they don't have a teacher in the classroom. Last time I was in the building, I saw a table 30 feet in from the main entrance here asking for substitute teachers. You know, this stuff, I'm sorry, this thing again.
Thank you.
Thank you. I understand our two student speakers are here, so I'm actually going to call them next. Would Anthony Burke please come to the table? And then Kendall Stewart will go after Anthony Burke. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. Good morning. My name is Anthony Burke, and I would like to start off by saying thank you for giving me a chance to talk about my experience at Andrew Hamilton. So when Ms. Smith first arrived at Hamilton, I believe there was a much-needed change at our school. She was very welcoming and made each student feel important. She has made many much-needed changes at the school, and now I know the school will be better because of these changes. Last year was the first year that uniforms were enforced, and I truly believe it was very beneficial to the students at Hamilton, and it made everyone feel equal, which gave us more time to focus on our grades and education. I am elated of the growth at Andrew Hamilton that the students in the community have the education needed to transform their lives. Now, as I leave Hamilton, I am grateful to have had the chance to spend a few great years with Ms. Smith, our principal. Thank you for giving me the chance to talk about my experience at Andrew Hamilton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kendall Stewart?
Good morning. My name is Kendall Stewart, and I've been attending Hamilton since kindergarten. From all the years I've attended Hamilton, I can say there's been a gradual change, especially in the last 2 years. When Principal Smith arrived, her goal was to have all students have the ability to learn in a positive and influential environment, and I can say she has achieved her goal. Some of the changes were the change of our uniform. This change happened in the past school year, and changing our uniform was one of the best decisions she's made because it makes us look unified. Also, I greatly appreciate how she enforced strict rules. This was very impactful to every single student attending Hamilton because now there won't be ruckus in the halls and chaos in the class, which has been a common issue in the past. Overall, from what I've stated, Principal Smith has caused Hamilton to change for the better. Although I've only stated a few procedures she has done to make Hamilton a successful school, know that there are plenty more that has been done, and there will be plenty more that needs to be done. I am confident that the Andrew Hamilton School will be a major contender in reference to academic success under the leadership of Principal Smith. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mama Gail?
I am doing this because the light is irritating. Peace and love. I wanted to take this morning, this opportunity this morning to talk about global leadership. But even before that, I want to talk about Huey School. I don't have copies of this, but I'd like to give this to you all and ask you to look at them and give us that. Thank you. Leah and I went to Huey the last year. I get spiritual messages, and I was sent there. I didn't know why, but I realized at the end of the year we were there because of the transition that was about to take place. I've been in schools for many years and seen and heard many things, but nothing compared to what I saw and experienced at Huey School. One of the first things that happened when we went there, going in, you look in the office, because I think in terms of parent engagement, one chair to sit in for a school that probably had between 400 and 500 children. So if you were a guest, and we went through this one time, a lady said to me, have a seat. I said, no, you take the chair. One chair. That's how it started. One of the first things we did going in was got chairs for the office. On a daily basis, you could hear children crying out, some being dragged in the hall. A woman would be constantly saying, he didn't take his medicine. He didn't take his medicine. As she was trying to drag him to get him up off the floor, the pain, the suffering that I saw there was unreal. There was, at one point, paper on the counter, and it was for professional development, and that was going to be done, it seemed, in a club, in a bar. Thank you, Leah, in a bar. I've never seen things like I saw at Huey. I talked about the little guy who was in kindergarten one of the times I spoke before, either first kindergarten or first grade. And he made an impact on me because he would just get up out of class and come to the room that we had. because it was peace there. This was a child that had 3 siblings with him, living with him. His mother had a new baby. And there was a grandpa that was taking care of them with the aunt. There would be constant calls to Grandpa's job. He was 70 years old. And he asked not to call his job, call his daughter, who was the caretaker at home. And they would call. So they ended up having to put those children in foster care because he could not lose his job at 70 years old.
Thank you.
Pardon me?
No. Thank you. Appreciate your input.
The next speakers are Sarah Kloss. Please come to the table. And then Rochelle Singleton and Kim Fuller. Thank you.
Should I start? Okay. Hello, my name is Sarah Kloss, and I have a child entering kindergarten next year at Jackson Elementary. I am here today to talk about the comprehensive school planning study. I live in study area 1. I have been a Jackson SAC community member for the past 2 years, and my involvement with the school goes back even further. The community has been asking for many years for the district to come up with a plan to address overcrowding, so I give credit for the district finally working toward a more transparent process. However, I have a few points I would like to call to your attention before we are locked into a certain scope of work. First, I echo the comments made by Kathleen Butts last week that any plan to redraw the catchments needs to have equity and school integration at the forefront. People like me who can take off work and complain at these meetings or to the press shouldn't get special accommodations for our kids. The catchment system already segregates our schools, and I do not want further harm to be done if those boundaries change again. Second, I am concerned that merely changing the catchment boundaries is a Band-Aid for a broken limb. I have looked at the population numbers myself and talked with many neighboring schools, and I am convinced that we need more physical school space in South Philly. And we cannot wait 2 or 3 more years for this study to reach the same conclusion. As with catchment changes, any new school space should be created with equity and school integration in mind. I do not want a boutique school to swoop in and siphon off all the kids with resources while others are neglected. I have already spoken with plenty of my neighbors in Study Area 1, South Philly, who care as much as me about educational equity. We are all prepared to have the hard conversations with those neighbors who don't yet understand what is at stake if we continue to build fortresses around certain schools while neglecting others. Finally, I have read that a stakeholder committee will be formed in Study Area 1, and I hope that the process for selecting committee members will be transparent. My understanding is that teachers were left out of these committees in the RFP, and I can't think of any group more qualified to guide this process than our teachers. And I ask that they be included in these stakeholder committees as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I do have a question
Ms.
about the
Fitz-Lopez.
teacher involvement. It's something that I've seen a lot about, and I am just curious as to their involvement in this process.
Yeah, so the teachers are a part of the stakeholder group. They will also be invited to participate in these meetings just as all others. I've had a couple of emails about that as well. I think it was a reference to the industry experts. And what we were talking about there were the demographers and people who do the analysis of all of those data. But they're setting and constructing a framework for these conversations, and the conversations are to include the multiple stakeholders, including teachers. And so there will be ample opportunities for teachers to be involved in this process, as well as community members and businesses and families.
Are there any other questions? Are there any other speakers?
Rochelle Singleton? Kim Fuller?
That brings us to the end of our meeting. Thank you to all of our registered speakers. On behalf of the board, I'd like to invite you to our next committee meetings. This afternoon, the District Finance and Facilities Committee will meet at 3:30 downstairs in the board committee room, and at 6 o'clock, the Student Achievement and Support Committee will meet in the same location. I now move to adjourn this meeting of the Board of Education. All of those in favor say yes. Those opposed, thank you. The Board of Education action meeting is adjourned.